This is Mark, and Mark really likes sneakers, especially this beautiful pair sitting in the window. So naturally, Mark walks straight into the store. He finds exactly what he was looking for. A fresh, stylish pair of sneakers. And honestly, they look pretty good. Mark pays $80 for them. The store owner hands him the box. And Mark couldn't be happier. He opens the box like it's Christmas morning. Yep, Mark is definitely excited. He puts the sneakers on. Then he stands up and checks himself out. Of course, the mirror is waiting. Mark looks at himself and smiles. Then Mark decides to become a fashion model. Honestly, he's feeling pretty good about himself. So Mark walks away like a superstar. At this point, life is simple. But then, something catches Mark's attention. The store owner walks over to him. And suddenly, he has a little secret. He whispers something quietly into Mark's ear. Mark's face immediately changes. Apparently, these sneakers are limited edition. And Mark suddenly becomes very interested. A brilliant idea pops into his head. What if these sneakers become more expensive? Now, Mark is starting to see an opportunity. Today, they cost just $80. But tomorrow, maybe they could cost $160. Or even $400. Mark's imagination is already running wild. He starts thinking about buying more pairs. Then he realizes he could resell them later. Mark suddenly develops a very suspicious smile. So he buys another pair, then another, and another. Soon, Mark is surrounded by 10 sneaker boxes. And Mark thinks he's discovered the secret to wealth. In his imagination, money is everywhere. Mark can practically see himself becoming rich. So he proudly raises another sneaker box. At first, the sneakers still cost $80. Then, suddenly, the price doubles to $160. Mark can't believe what he's seeing. He points at the price like a genius. Mark celebrates because his prediction came true. And now the first customer rushes in. Then 2 more customers follow. Soon, the store starts getting crowded. More people rush toward the sneakers. Everyone wants a pair before they're gone. Some people are already buying multiple pairs. Others are buying even more. Mark watches all of this with a huge smile. But something important has changed. People aren't buying sneakers just to wear anymore. People aren't buying sneakers just to wear anymore. And now, everyone notices the opportunity. So another person jumps into the market. Then another. As more people buy, prices continue rising. The higher prices attract even more attention. And more buyers keep showing up, which pushes the price even higher. Now the crowd is getting seriously excited. Mark is right in the middle of it all. The pattern is becoming obvious. Higher prices bring more buyers. More buyers push prices even higher. And the cycle keeps feeding itself. Mark thinks this can only end one way, rich. Soon, Mark starts watching videos about sneakers. One influencer claims these sneakers are unstoppable. Mark watches every second of the video. The influencer is extremely confident, and Mark is completely convinced. His excitement is growing again. He points at the phone and says, "Exactly." So Mark immediately buys even more sneakers. Click. Another sneaker box arrives. Then another one. Soon, Mark has sneakers everywhere. His friend notices the growing collection. Mark proudly shows him what he's bought. And now his friend wants in. So his friend buys a pair too. Then another friend walks over. And suddenly, everyone wants to participate. 3 friends are now holding sneaker boxes. Then more neighbors start showing up. Soon, almost everyone seems to be buying. Even an older neighbor becomes curious. He doesn't even understand sneakers, but he understands that prices are rising. So he buys one anyway. And that's when Mark gets an even bigger idea. He suddenly thinks he can multiply his money. Mark proudly activates his so-called big brain. So he walks straight into a bank. Mark explains his brilliant investment plan. He only has $10,000, but he wants to control $100,000. So Mark decides to borrow the difference. $10,000 of his money, $90,000 borrowed. The bank approves the loan. Mark walks out feeling like a financial genius. He uses the money to buy more sneakers. Soon, he's surrounded by a mountain of shoes. Mark thinks he's finally figured everything out, but he's actually using financial leverage. Mark now controls $100,000 of sneakers. Then, something amazing happens. The sneaker prices rise by 10%. Mark is absolutely thrilled, so he quickly sells his entire collection. His $100,000 becomes $110,000. Mark pays the bank back $90,000. That leaves Mark with $20,000. He started with $10,000. Now he has $20,000. Mark celebrates like he just won the lottery. His $10,000 has effectively doubled. And now Mark wants to do it again. He's imagining even more sneakers and even more money. Mark's confidence is becoming dangerously high. But suddenly, the price chart changes direction. The sneakers fall by 10%. Mark isn't smiling anymore. Now he's starting to get nervous. Mark checks the falling price on his phone. His $100,000 is now worth $90,000. Mark realizes this is becoming a serious problem, so he desperately tries to sell everything. Eventually, he sells the entire collection, and $90,000 goes straight back to the bank. Mark is left with almost nothing. He checks his account again. His original $10,000 is basically gone, and the price keeps falling. Mark suddenly realizes he still owes money. Then the bank sends him a very unpleasant bill. Mark starts sweating. He desperately tries to stay calm. He tells himself prices will eventually recover. But deep down, Mark knows he's in trouble. Meanwhile, the sneaker market has gone completely crazy. The crowd is louder and more excited than ever, and the price chart keeps shooting upward. It is almost going straight up. People are throwing money at sellers. Some buyers are even offering their car keys. Yes, people are actually selling cars for sneakers. Mark is right there in the middle of it, and he thinks this is completely normal. A sneaker is now being compared to a car. The prices become completely ridiculous. Yet everyone still wants one. Mark points at the chart with total confidence. But let's take a closer look at the sneaker. Suddenly, the price tag becomes enormous. The price keeps growing far beyond reason. Yet the sneaker itself hasn't changed at all. People are simply bidding against each other. Everyone believes someone else will pay more. And that is how a bubble forms. The bubble keeps growing larger. Mark and the crowd are trapped inside it. Prices continue rising as confidence grows. But the bubble is becoming dangerously unstable. Then tiny cracks begin appearing. Mark finally notices something is wrong. More cracks begin spreading across the bubble. Even the crowd starts getting nervous. One buyer quietly steps away. Then another buyer follows. Suddenly, the first seller decides to cash out. Then several more people start selling. Soon, everyone wants to sell. But there aren't enough buyers anymore. One buyer looks at the price and walks away. The sellers suddenly realize what's happening, and the price begins falling. Everyone notices the falling chart. Panic spreads through the crowd. Now everyone is desperately trying to sell. The bubble is cracking apart. It's seconds away from completely bursting. And then, boom! The bubble finally bursts. Mark watches everything collapse around him. After the crash, Mark is left with his sneakers. He picks one up and stares at it. For the first time, Mark really looks at the shoe. And suddenly, he understands what happened. The sneakers didn't change. Mark's expectations did. A bubble isn't just about expensive sneakers. It's about human psychology. People buy because prices are rising. Prices rise because people keep buying, until one day the next buyer disappears. So don't just ask, how fast is it going up? Ask, why is it worth this much? Because the asset can change, but human psychology doesn't. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support the channel, and you'll be able to follow more interesting videos like this one. See you in the next video.